Hello, my name is Martha Miles. I'm a teacher at Benjamin Banneker High School in College Park, Georgia. College Park is a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia, and Atlanta is one of the largest cities in the southeastern region of the United States. My class decided to join the AMERICA-iEARN Marriage Customs Around the World project. We focus on marriage in America. In that effort, we researched couples who are involved in interracial marriages. We looked at couples who are involved in same-gender marriages. We looked at a traditional couple. We even spoke with someone who's currently engaged to marry someone of a different race. Additionally, we interviewed a lawyer and a pastor so that we might be able to explore everything that shapes and molds marriage as we know it in the United States. Now, in looking at marriage, there always has to be a beginning, and that beginning is usually when the two individuals meet.
How did your meet each other?
Very good question. How did we meet each other? We actually met on the internet. There is a website called eHarmony. You've heard of it? And
commercials.
yeah. And you do a personality profile, and they match you according to your personality. So when you meet someone, you can see what you have in common and how you get along. And it actually was quite an experience, and it worked well for us.
And you can set up when you go on there, if you're a white person and only want to date white people, they have a button that you can click. If you want to date only black people, you have a button. Or if you don't care, you can date anybody. You can pick any race or any combination, or just pick all of them.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with religion. You can choose people of a certain faith or people of all faiths and that type of thing. So.
How did you meet your fiance?
I met him at church. Hallelujah. He's in children's ministry and I'm in choir ministry and that different type of ministries at school, at the church, and which was a school too. And we just kind of enjoyed each other's company, but I did not really look at him as a possible future husband until my dad passed away.
Well, we met, again, we are not sure of the month, but it was a little before Halloween, right? And we met at Yale University at Gay Social Function.
Yale University.
And that was in 1973.
1973.
When Bill and I got together, there was no such thing as AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
If it was, I mean,
they had not.
They had identified it. There was nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got together, you know, I mean, especially in New York City, it was very unusual, unheard of, really, to have a couple together. I mean, basically, you're roommates, but you didn't. You know, you were not a couple. They thought to themselves, we've got to start thinking about being exclusive and monogamous. You know, our friends were saying, well, what do we do? How do we do this? And they said, well, see Bill and Matthew, they're a couple. Now, we were together already at that point, maybe 5-6 years.
Right.
And we looked at each other and we said, yeah, I guess we are. You know, I guess so. You know, but we hadn't really thought about it like that. And then then when they were starting to ask us questions, and we said, whether we want to be or not, we are role models for these people.
We met in, I guess it was around the fall of 1980, and like I said, we worked together. It was a little 3-person office, and because of that, we were always in close proximity, and we had to work a lot of late hours because we were both in IT at the time. Just one thing led to another over time, and I would think, so it was late, it was fall of 80 we met, and
we didn't start dating until spring of the following year.
81, so 5 or 6 months. Talk about fate. She was new in the position in data processing, and neither one of us liked the employer where we were at. I get a call from a headhunter for a job opportunity. I had been in the business longer. I was too experienced for it. And I said, hold on, I gave her the phone. She got the interview, got the job at Chicago Title and Trust. 30 days later, I took a job with a consulting firm that put me full-time at Chicago Title and Trust.
So our paths seem to cross all the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we probably liked our work ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will delight in our couples. They are quite engaging.
When did end up marriage which become legal in U.S.?
When did interracial marriage become legal in the U.S.? That was 45 years ago. And that happened because there were anti-miscegenation laws in the United States. And anti-miscegenation laws basically said that people of different races could not marry, and it was against the law. There were certain states, I believe there were 13 states that did have anti-miscegenation laws. And there was a couple, Richard and Mildred Loving, and they wanted to get married. They knew it was illegal in their state of Virginia, so they went to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and got married. They left Washington, went back home to Virginia, and the police came into their house while they were sleeping in the middle of the night, came into their bedroom and arrested them for breaking the anti-miscegenation laws. And they were so persecuted that they took their case to the Supreme Court. The Attorney General then was Robert Kennedy, so they appealed to him that the laws be changed so that they could be married and it would be legal without them being arrested just for being married.
How did your parents react to you marrying someone of another race?
How did our parents react to us marrying someone of another race? They didn't react negatively, positively any more than they would have had we been the same race, I think. By the time we got married, everybody had met each other and got to know each other, and they were just happy that we were getting married.
How would you look at your roles juxtaposed to the traditional marriage? Do you see differences? Are there's a similarity?
We realized that when people were talking about husband, how's your husband, we've never talked like that. I mean, I guess because we were raised a certain way, you know, if he's the husband, then am I the wife? No, that doesn't work.
So that'd be one of the differences in that we in terms of terminology, and I guess that's what could be a hang up for a lot of
We don't
people
get
when
caught
we
up on the
talk about marriage.
semantics of it. So
Exactly.
we're both obviously men, and I think of us like that, you know, so that's...
And we don't give each other any roles. I mean, you know, we are men to having to, you know, love
Although
each other.
he does the clothes. I don't know how to use the washing
Well,
machine.
that's in terms of our duties and responsibilities. Yeah, we divide those up.
Yeah.
But,
And I do the outside. I like to work out in the yard.
but in terms of and I, you know, I guess the only thing to say, you know, you're my husband, and
Yeah.
well,
No, we don't do that.
it's not.
And
For us, again,
I'm uncomfortable with that,
yeah,
actually. You
it's-
know, again,
right.
I know that some people do that, but...
Some do it, and if they, you know, they're comfortable with it, I have no problem with that.
And people now, you know, there was a time when people would say to us, well, how's your husband? And I said, well, I don't have one. They said, but now that we're married, when people say, well, how's your husband? I good-naturedly say, oh, Bill's fine, you know, he's
Yes.
great. But I don't...
You don't perceive
say-
it as
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another interesting thing for me was, like, we had shared a life for 35 years before we were able to get married in Connecticut. And up to that time, he had always been, you know, I made reference to him. I said, well, that's my friend. But after the marriage, somehow it became more solidified, more solid, and that now I almost automatically say he is my lifetime partner, or my partner. I say partner more frequently than I've ever said in the past.
I see. It does make a difference.
It makes it.
Marriage makes a difference.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. You would like to make, as you've been pondering, having this discussion about what's marriage been like for you. Are there any other comments you would like to add, just to share with the world about
Our
marriage?
marriage is different because we work together.
That is different. How is that?
And we
different?
work out of our house together.
The
and
same room?
No, we
We used to until our daughter went off to college.
Right. It's hard when two of us trying to be on the same phone in little rooms, so we kind of split up our office for that reason alone. But we've worked in the same room for a long time while our daughter was here before she left for college. So we're together all the time.
How do you manage that?
We like it. I mean, it's crazy, but
We work it out.
We play on the same tennis teams. We play tennis a lot. When we play on mixed tennis, almost all the couples don't want to play with their spouse. We actually ask to play with each other, and it gets crazy as much as we're together 24/7. There's so much that we're comfortable with each other. It's like if one of us leaves the house, typically you end up calling the other one that's in the office. Just something comes up. Some of our friends think we're nauseating because we go to a restaurant, half the time we order one entree and share it, and and have an extra appetizer.
This is a good balance that we have together.
It's wonderful. And how long is it? I didn't do the calculations in my head that you've been married.
28 years.
28 years. It'll be 28 in June. So our anniversary's coming up. This is like an anniversary present for us to review all this. Our relationship.
Ditto.
We all know that when the honeymoon phase ends, real life kicks in. And when real life kicks in, it sometimes has obstacles. That happens in all relationships, and marriage is not excluded from it. We ask our various couples and authorities on marriage, how are obstacles handled in marital relationships?
Did people criticize you for having an interracial relationship?
Anybody criticize us? I can't think of anybody saying anything to us to criticize us.
None of the people that we know were
No,
critical at all. And
there was, every now and then when we would walk together, when we were dating, if we were holding hands, somebody might give us a look that,
that they didn't approve.
yeah, it could be anywhere from surprise, like, what's that about, to
Anger, yeah. But
very rare.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that Dr. Seuss quote, the people who matter don't mind and the people who mind don't matter.
And I have only met one person in my path that believes that I'm sinning. But she cannot show me in Scripture where it's a sin to love somebody of a different color.
How do you feel about interracial dating when you were young?
Well, when I was young, I lived in a society of all white. There was no Mexican, there was no black. I did not have my first exposure to different nationalities until I went to college. But praise God, I had no challenges with that. And I know this is Christ, because to do it on my own, I'm sure I would be very close-minded. But through my relationship with Christ, and even before that, He gave me a love for people. I don't look at you, Aaron, as black. I look at you as Aaron. I've not ever seen skin color. When people used to say, well, who's in your classroom? Young men and women. And come meet them, because they are amazing. That's kind of my spirit. My dad
mentioned that both our fathers were kind of racist, I mean, that's just,
because of
nice people, but
it was the time.
that was the time, and
It's still the time.
But
in some instances.
what we both did in our family, I think we let them know, although like I said, his father was not there when we would visit Mama, so, but in my house, my father was, and I made it clear to both my mom and dad that, that when I came to visit sometime, I would be coming alone, but sometime I'd be bringing my friend, and if that wasn't going to work, then I probably would not be coming. So my father said something like, well, of course you must come. There's a sense of loyalty, and I said, well, but there's more of a sense of love. I come here because I love you, not because I feel like I'm obligated to come on Sundays or whatever. So anyway, the long story short of that was that they came to realize that we meant what we said. And the same thing in his family. I told his siblings when we first met, said, I love your mother dearly. I loved her instantly. But I said, as far as you guys go, you know, I mean, you can take me or leave me, and I can do the same for you. We can see if we can make this work. I'd probably put it a little bit nicer than that, but that was the, you know, the basis of it. So they knew, and they know to this day that I'm not trying to prove anything. I love your brother, but you know, I'm not trying to, you know, win you over. And I think we did that on both sides of our family.
Now we will explore marriage from both a legal and religious point of view.
What is the legal age for marriage?
It's different in each state, and in Georgia it's 18. And the only time there'd be a difference, like if you want to get married before 18, then your parents or legal guardian has to consent to it. If they don't consent, then you can't do it. And I think there might be a rule, I'm not sure because I don't practice in that area every day. It's like if you're 16 or 17 and you're pregnant, then you may be able to get married without your parents' consent. But the issue is, like I said, it's different in each state. Because basically in Georgia, when you turn 18, you can be emancipated. That particular time, you can declare yourself free of your parents, and you can get married. All right, Aaron.
We know interracial marriage was made legal 45 years ago. However, was marriage allowed between ethnic groups other than blacks and whites before the law was passed in 1967?
All right. And as I stated before, marriage laws are controlled by the states, so the laws were different. And there were certain race laws. Those are the same laws that stated that segregation, all the segregation laws called race law, and that was one of the laws about being married. And only some states forbid people from getting married. But you have to look at the law. So if the law said marriage between colored and whites or between black and whites, and didn't say race, then Asians could marry whites, and Asians could marry blacks, but whites could marry blacks, is what the law said. But basically, in '67, I think it was the Loving case out of Virginia, the Supreme Court said that marriage was a constitutional right, which means people in the United States had the right to get married, and the state couldn't outlaw it. So therefore, it overruled all those race laws. Okay.
What are the laws of some gender people marrying?
What are the laws?
Same gender. What are the laws regarding same gender?
The same thing. Now that one's actually being played out now.
Yeah.
Okay. Because basically the laws in all the states stated that marriage could only take place between a man and a woman. But then certain states start to pass laws that says marriage can only take place between a man and a woman. Then I think it was California, then Washington State, and then New Hampshire. Different states have passed laws that says same-sex marriages can take place. But those are being challenged in court. So in some places, a man and a man can get married, or a woman and a woman can get married, and it's legal. But the issue is now is that that's actually being played going up to the Supreme Court. Because the Supreme Court says the Constitution forbids it, then those state laws would have to be, they'll be illegal. Because see, the thing about marriage, and why it's important, because we're 50 states, right, the United States. And since marriage is controlled by states, the laws of one state have to respect the laws of another state. So if you're legally married in one state, then just because you go to another state, that state shouldn't say you're not legally married. Because people move. You get married in one state and they move. You get your driver's license in Georgia, that means you can't drive in Florida or Alabama. No, you can drive. They have to respect each other's laws.
Can someone with a disability, such as mental retardation, marry someone who is mentally retarded?
Well, again, that's a legal question. Because it's not whether or not you're mentally retarded. It's whether or not you're mentally competent.
The person you is not disabled. Maybe someone who is disabled.
Yes.
Okay, so there are no laws against that.
The only issue is whether or not they're both competent. if they're both competent, then they can get married. Now, if one of them's not competent, then it's up to that person's legal guardian to okay it.
That's both mental and physical disability. Mental and physical.
Doesn't matter.
Who decide who a person marries in our country?
The person does. In our country, you have, it's your constitutional right. Nobody can make you marry anybody or tell you who you can't marry. But the two have to agree. Now, you can't say you want to marry somebody and that other person don't want to marry you. Or somebody can't say they want to marry you and you don't want to marry them. So both sides have to agree. Both parties have to consent. Okay.
Does Georgia still require blood tests?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of it?
Well, the reason for the blood test really is so, like having consent and knowledge, because some people is that, okay, like some people have sickle cell anemia, and you don't know about it. So before somebody with sickle cell, they can get married, but they need to know they have sickle cell anemia, because if they have children and they both have the trait, then that means the children can be born with the disease. But if one person has a trait and one person doesn't have the trait, then that means they can have children, you don't have to worry about it. Now the other thing that happens is venereal disease.
Right.
Okay, so that was the main concern was,
Exactly. Way back.
yeah, because supposedly people weren't having intercourse until they got married. But the main thing is somebody has some type of disease, you want to have a blood test.
Exactly.
So that they can know.
Can you talk with us about common law marriages in our country and define them, because others may not know about that.
That differs in each state. Remember I told you the law is different. Now Georgia actually changed their laws about 10 years ago. Maybe even a little bit longer. No, they changed them 12 years ago. That common law in Georgia doesn't exist anymore. So up until like 1990 something, you could be common law married, and but the problem was you had to get legal divorce.
Oh.
That's what happened. Because what happened was somebody might get common law marriage. The only thing it took to be common law was for somebody to be with one person one day and they held themselves out to be married. So it wasn't like a week or a month, it's just a matter of somebody just holding themselves out that says, legally it says, I'm married such and such. Or this is my wife, or this is my husband. So
you can claim someone as your wife or your husband?
They both have to do it in public.
Okay.
And that would be the test. The test would be whether or not they a couple held themselves out to be married.
Okay.
And if they help, because what would happen was they might say they married 1 week and then the next week they gone. But the issue was once you hold yourself out, then you could be common law married. And then the problem was you had to get a divorce. There was no such thing as a common law divorce. You could be common law married. So what happened was people might say that hold themselves out to be married, and then they'll split up without getting a divorce, and then go marry somebody else. But then they be committing bigamy because legally they were married. Because they were common law married. Now in some states, common law marriage is still allowed.
Homes marriage first organized by the Christian Church. How is it similar and different from marriage as we know it today?
Well, the first thing you have to sort of understand is that marriage was already going on when the Christian Church started. The Christian Church started almost 2,000 years ago. And at that time, the Roman Empire was in power. Just like there are countries in power now, the Roman Empire was in power at that time. And what Christians basically did was adopted what the Romans were already doing insofar as Christian marriage was concerned. One of the things that was going on is that men had a much more prominent position in marriage than women did. Marriage was primarily seen as something that was arranged by the families, as opposed to two people finding each other and just falling in love, you know, like people talk about it today. It really wasn't the way it was. One family would get with another family and they say, well, I want this man would say, well, I want to marry your daughter. And usually the man was about 30-something years old. and the daughter was usually a teenager. That's actually the way it actually sort of started. And this man would go to the teenager's wife, probably not much older than many of you young ladies in here. He would go to that teenager's father and say, well, will you allow me to marry your daughter? And the father would have to agree to it. And if the father agreed to it, she really didn't have a whole lot to say about it. The actual first wedding really didn't happen in the Christian church until about the so-called 12th century. That was in the 1100s. Now is the 2000s, so we're talking about 900 years ago. It was primarily a legal arrangement. It was an economic arrangement because there was actually some stuff was being exchanged. Some things like some sheep and some donkeys and some stuff. He would give him something. They call it a dowry.
The second question, if Marcella says.
When was the first wedding performed in the Christian church? Where did it take place? Who officiated? Who were the first two people? Who were the first two people married by a Christian leader?
Okay, I in part already answered that. In terms of knowing exactly who the first people were, that record really is almost impossible to find. Just to find out who the first two people were. You know, like in the 12th century, we actually performed a wedding. But see, there were a lot of people in the Christian church who were already married.
What are the rules for marriage, and where are they found in the Bible?
Definite hard rules for marriage are really complicated to come by. There are a few passages in the Bible that tell you some things about marriage. Some of them you will find, I guess the first one will be in the book of Genesis. Yeah, the first one will be in the book of Genesis. Talking about Adam and Eve. It says, a man shall leave his house and then go and get close to a woman, and the two become one, and that's the way it is. So that's sort of the original rule about marriage. But there are a number of others that you will find in the book of Deuteronomy. But those rules primarily apply to the ancient Israelites or the ancient Jewish people. That's what those rules are about. There are quite a few rules that you will find in the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy as well. Now, go over into the New Testament. You will find some rules about how people are to be married. You will find some in like the 19th chapter of Matthew where somebody asks Jesus about the nature of divorce, and then he goes on to tell them about the nature of divorce, and in telling them about the nature of divorce, he says something about the nature of marriage. The husband in the marriage is supposed to be willing to sacrifice everything for his wife, including giving up his life. I'm giving you the short version of it. He's supposed to be willing to sacrifice even his whole life in order to protect his wife and that kind of thing, his whole life. On the other hand, the wife is supposed to, the word that they always use is submit. The idea is to do what he says.
Is that the one that says a husband should love his wife like Christ loves the church?
Exactly. That's the one that's in Ephesians. That's the one that you will find in Ephesians. The husband should love his wife like Christ loved the church and was willing to give up his life.
How does Christianity teach married people not to cheat on each other?
Well, it's not very complicated at all. Not that people follow it all the time, but it's not very complicated at all. You simply tell people that, let me come at it this way. When you have a wedding, people engage in something called vows. Y'all heard that word? Okay, vows. What's a vow?
You meet your life.
Okay, exactly. So something is exactly. It's something that you promise to do. Well, first of all, Christianity teaches that when you make a vow, when you make a promise, not only just in marriage, but when you make a promise anywhere at any time, that you're supposed to keep the promise.
Yeah.
That it's the right thing to do. And certainly when someone makes a vow in marriage, a part of the marriage vow is that you're going to be just with that person and nobody else. That's a part of what the vow says. So you're making a vow right now. How does the Christian church teach it? In a very practical kind of sense. A lot of churches have what they call pre-marital counseling.
How does Protestant church view gay marriage?
Again, the church is going to be split on how it views gay marriage. Most Protestant churches are opposed to gay marriage because they define marriage as what happens between a man and a woman. There are some churches, however, who have as their official position the allowance of gay marriage. They officially do gay marriages.
How do you feel about marriage?
I still have not. No. That's fine. That's good. Okay. I have not made a full commitment one way or the other to gay marriage. However, the truth of the matter is I really think that gay marriage is going to be legalized throughout most of the country.
I do too.
I think it's simply
and I think
going
the
to happen.
president's taking the position that he did will be one of the things that will happen.
It is simply going to happen.
Marriage in America takes on many different faces, but one of the things my students and I realize in this exploration is the commonality that exists in each union is a firm commitment to your partner and a deep love for your partner. It was a joy for us to research this topic, get involved with it to the extent that we did, and we hope that it will be as meaningful to you as you view it. Thank you.